Welcome to the Language of Markets live. It is live. Matic Monday. It is the first, right? The first of June. We're rolling along pretty good here. Oh, it's July? All right. All right. It's July. I was corrected. Morning, Pete. All right. Morning, Gracie, Gary. Doing very well today. Yeah, and Nate says I'm on the ES. It's funny because telling everybody the ES was boring, and then I said, all right, let's go look at it. And I've been trading it for a month or so. See, it's my willingness to adapt, right? We're traders. Hey, if it looks good, it looks good. I'm not going to stick to my guns there. Look at this thing. This thing's rolling up, down. You can't beat that. Change, right? It's business meeting time. That's right, Phil. All right, let's first an announcement. The 4th of July is coming up. We will be taking Friday off. We'll be here Wednesday. We're going to finish some things up. We'll be here Wednesday. We'll be taking Friday off and back the following Monday. Yes, I got that right. So hmm? We'll be back July 8th. But I'll remind you guys on Wednesday. And so we're celebrating the 4th of July here, even if you're from Europe. That works? All right. And Phil says it's business meeting time. Yeah, Phil, we need to do some work on that pretty soon. Meaning, we need some basic methods for tracking ourselves during the month. So we can take a look, have a meeting, see what's going on. Remember, it's always about learning, period. Morning, Rita. All right, so today we're going to start off with doing a little practice. I gave somebody an exercise in oil. We're going to do a little practice in swings. We're going to finish up our pressure cookers, and we're going to be moving on to another framework soon to go study. So we'll be tightening up the pressure cooker a little bit today. Yeah, we're going to do type 3. Finally found a type 3 I could like, Edward. So we're gonna finish type 3. Thank you. But before that, we're going to practice in swings. I know more practice in swing. Everything's in swings, guys. Everything. When we start to understand that, right, things really start to come together. And we're doing a lot of work. We did a lot of work with the process of things last week. Let me see if I could find that slide real quick. We did a lot of work with this. Well, not a lot, but we started it, right, with the process of things and working it through. And by the way, if you got a little lost on this, don't worry about it. Just let it sit, let it soak. If you want a little blank, all right, while we did this, don't worry. We'll be doing it again in many different ways, but it's still all about swings, one way or the other. All right, just stick with it. Relax your bones. Relax your bones. It will settle. Okay? If you can relax your bones, that's the deepest. Relax your bones a little bit. And don't worry if you go blank with some of this stuff. We're going to be bringing things down to simple swings, but it does take a lot of practice, right? We always need more, so we're going to do a little bit more today on that. Go away. Don't want you there. So, I don't know. Let's just look at the ES. The first part of getting ready to trade is, well, we want to map this guy, right? How are we going to map this guy? How are we going to draw? What are we going to do? How can we draw on this guy? We look at it. We can start with median line. We can play around a little bit. So we got this guy. There's the big one. Price has a high probability of reaching the median line, right? We could look at this thing, say something like that. It's not that one line's right or one line's wrong. You can just go this little swing to this swing. and watch it like that. No big deal. We can watch, and see, I'm not paying attention what's on the left, right? This chart ripped right here. Now from here, we can do, let's just do it while we're here, a little bit of swing work. We got our last swing broke here. Then we have these guys rolling on through, rolling on through, rolling on through, rolling on through, rolling on, that's what this market's doing. It's this kind of thing that can help lean us into a trade for the day. And that's without going into a whole lot of detail, right? That's without going into a whole lot of detail. That's just a quick map of this market. And then we have the bigger swing. And we have the bigger swing. You can see, price coil. I like where price fell off here. So we'll just mark this. Keep an eye on it. All right, let's go do our practice. All right. So I gave somebody an assignment. So we're all going to practice this assignment. Give it to one person, might as well give it to everybody. Practice. All right. So I'm moving a little fast today, but we're going to start with swings. Actually, before we even get to this, all right, I have something I want to put a little attention on for the week. We'll start it out. What is observation, all right? I just want to put a little attention on that for the week. And then we're going to go do our practice. So I want to think, what is observation, all right? Because in trading, we're systematically observing, understanding all levels of these swings, all levels of what we're seeing, accepting, okay, all the aspects. And so we want to wonder, what is observation? Because this is probably, we can equate this to listening. It's in the same realm. This is probably one of the biggies when it comes to skill. And when it comes to trading, we need to foster skill. Now, we can look up a definition of this, but I want everybody just on their own, consider it just as you're walking around in life. What is observation? How many things do you miss? How many things don't you miss? Our whole job here is to get a little more conscious of everything. And so observation is an interesting thing, and it seems easy. All right, you're just looking, you're observing. But there's a deeper level to reach for with this. So what are we observing? Is it the same or different from listening? It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Nate. Observation. It's just maybe a different sense, but it's the same. It's the same essence. It's the same thing. Staying out of my own bias. How about, Phil, if you're observing staying out of your own bias, you can also observe being in your bias. So we're observing ourselves, number one. We're observing ourselves, number one. We have to start our weeks off with something like this. There's certain skills. There's certain abilities we want to develop. The listening, the observation, the following, what we listen to. The alignment part. Just like Phil says, hey, when I'm in my bias, all right, time to realign myself. And then the getting on board with everything. And so we want to I'm not just going to tell us here, this is something I'm going to go deeper into myself. So we're observing ourselves, we're observing price, and when it comes to price, we're observing mostly in the form of swings, right? We have to form it up somehow. And then anything interesting after that. Swings keeps it very loose. So we're going to pay attention to everything we do while we're doing it, right? Observing me being in my own bias, Phil says. Yes, that's it. You don't have to go buy books on mindfulness. This is what mindfulness is, observing yourself, observing markets, rather than, being all in our heads with where we want to be with our trading and where we want to go and what we want. And me, 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 me. And so we want to pay attention to everything we do. You can pay attention to what you do while you're under pressure. See, I've learned a lot about myself being under a little pressure because, I bring those aspects to my trading. It's like, oh, so now I'm a little more conscious of that, right? And then Phil, now I can do a business meeting, right? You can't really do a business meeting till you get more conscious of what you got going on. And most of us are just flat out unconscious of a lot of things, right? Yeah. Hey, Gina, minus judgment. Yeah. Well, then we would add dispassionate observation. So we try to minus the judgment, Gina, but what if we're judging? And then what do we do? Nate says, I can now notice my own contraction. Yes, right, very good, Nate. See what we're judging. Well, how about see that you are judging? Job's done. You get it? That's it. Then we understand our vantage point. Yeah, well, if you're judging, just notice you're judging, right? Notice hey, I'm judging this. Okay, don't get attached to it. That's fine. And so it's observation. It's this observation, as Phil said, and as Nate said, boom, I start to notice. Now we can have a business meeting with ourselves, right? It's not just floating out in the air, ungrounded. Now we have something, so we keep observing. Most people will not do this kind of training because you don't have to, mostly in life. When you're a little sharp and you're observing things rather than thinking about things, when you're listening to things. And then, Gina, we can move on to what is dispassionate observation. Because if we can get to that dispassionate observation, then boom, we can see very clearly and not be triggered by everything all over the place. Fact is, we are, so we observe that. But first, let's figure out what observation is before we go and try and use it all over the place. And it might not be what you think. All right, so be open to that. It might not be what you think it is. Start with the definition and then do a little bit of it. And it might not be what you think. It's amazing how much we miss. It is. It's amazing how much we miss with things. I give an exercise once in a while to say, all right, grab a chart and make 100 observations. And you guys can try this. You grab this frame, make 100 observations, but don't get up till you've made them. You've written them down on the chart, and you've made 100. And you'd be amazed that you start to see more and more and more, whatever they are, a swing, a wide range bar, a gap. But you have to commit not to get up till you've got 100. And the exercise is valuable in showing us how much we really take for granted, how much we really miss, how much we really don't see. You can do the same thing with take a painting or a picture you've had in your house for 10 years. Make 100 observations. I bet you'll see something new in there. And it's valuable just to show us, how asleep we are with some things sometimes. So just maybe we'll talk about this more on on Wednesday. But if you just sort of keep your attention on it without trying to come to a conclusion, you might see something a little interesting. All right, so let's take this guy, and I gave this as a 13-minute oil futures chart. I gave him an exercise to follow swings. Now let's begin to form this up. This is where I come in, you know. We begin to form this up so we can do this. So we're going to say major swing, is the largest reaction leg. Minor swing and I'm going to add in your data frame, okay? So it doesn't matter, just in your frame. Basic. Nate, the chart everyone is looking at, the old 13-minute? The old one? You guys all see a 13-minute? What's so old about it? It's new. It's not old. What are you doing, Nate? Screwing with me? I'm just saying because no one looks at 13-minute CL. Yeah. In the old days, you guys remember me using 13-minute. Some of you who've been around, just because I wanted to be contrary to the 15-minute guys. I wanted to get in 2 minutes ahead of them. So the person I gave this exercise to, you wanted to do 13-minute. He remembered that, so we did 13-minute. Everybody thinks time frame or tick thing is so important, and it's really not, right? It's, yeah, plus 13 is a lucky number. There you go. It's, you know, it's really not that important if you have the ability to structure a market. It really doesn't matter what time frame. And so, yeah, I spent a lot of time debunking all that stuff. And so 13 is my lucky number too. So I just wanted to be contrary. So let's just take this and see what you see. All right? See what you see. And since it's a futures market, it's a little sketchy, right? Without it being a tick market on this time frame, it's a little sketchy, but we still want the ability. We still want the ability to do this. And then when we do this one, we're going to go to the euro, which we've talked about last week, and we're going to learn how to see swings that maybe don't look like swings. All right. CL is sketchy more than a few time frames. Yeah, big press before the gap up. Good, but let's just stick with swings now, Grace. Let's just do swings. So here's his exercise, all right? So I'm making sure you guys send me a chart. Make sure you don't have your count numbers on there when you send me charts, okay? You never know what I'm going to do. All right, so this is him marking it out. You see he's got the red, he's got the yellow, he's got the green. And so he's doing some exercise. Does this kind of make sense to everybody? Looks like he's got 3 levels of swings. Makes sense? Okay, I want to clean this up, right? There's something that's not clean in here. There's something that's, I mean, it's okay if you've been following it from live, but if you just took this one data set here, there's something that isn't clean. See, there's a little difference when you start from here or, you know, you start following it live while it's growing. But there's some things that just aren't real clean in here, right? The yellow's not clean. You see, this is all one swing here. Okay. See, this is all one structure, and it should be one yellow. That would make this the major, since it's the biggest, and that the minor. Okay. And at the end of the chart too. Good. And also we have the green. All right, that's the next size down if you want to follow it. If you want to follow it. But even then, let's pick out the structures, guys. All right. See, look, we have green, green, yellow, green, green, yellow, green. Let's clean this up a little bit. Yeah, it's getting to it, but let's clean it up a little bit so we see the swing structures. All right, let's clean it up a little bit so we end up seeing the swing structures on this guy. That's what we're after. So, we want to see what is, see, this is more like this, okay? And then this is all one here. So let's clean this up. And sometimes if you go getting into micros, these colors, you don't like the colors, Nate? You sound like Grace now, hurting your eyes, the colors. Come on. You guys are a bunch of sissies. All right, I'm having a little fun. Color is important. I'm sorry, Grace. I'm sorry. Don't hit me again, please. No, don't hit me again. All right. She does. She hits me. All right. Boom, boom. It doesn't matter if it's purple and gray. We still want to see the swings. All right. We still want to see the swings. But definitely for your own charting, I would suggest using either all one color, because it can kind of get distracting for you even if you don't notice it. But let's put this on my chart. Let's clean it up a little bit. And you know what? Sometimes this isn't the easiest thing to do. I appreciate the effort in trying. That's what I value most from you guys. All right? This is what I value, the effort in trying and the effort in doing it and putting yourself out there and putting your butt on the line, especially since I might show it. Now I'm sitting here, I see a very nice pressure cooker too, huh? All right. See, these things just pop out at you after a while. So let's clean this up a little bit, and then we'll all take the exercise of following it for this week. All right. So if we go like this, we can say that is our majors. So we had this until, I guess, Friday. I guess that's Friday. All right, so we can say that is our major. That's our major. Was that what he had marked? No, he had this whole thing marked here. I'm sorry. He had this, and then this was the little yellow one. All right, so we come down here. Let's get the right length. See, the time's a little off, but let's get the right length. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Phil. So this is our major, this is our minor. So this should fit our definition. Major swing. Minor swing. next largest. So we'll make these green. And it does help to just see the whole piece of structure like this. It does help. All right, so now we'll begin to form this guy up from here. Now we have another set of swings here, and we'll call this one of these days. I'm going to get my reaction leg and my things to match. One of these days. All right, and we can call this a micro. All right, so you see he did these two here. And this is one of the problems if you grab a big set of data, your eyes kind of slough over it. And it's best to come in here and say, all right, that's that swing, right? That's it. See, that's the gray. He marked out this one also. See, that's a no-go, right? It's a different animal. So it helps to get a little closer in here and actually see the structure. So you see when I'm coming here and I do it a little bit, I'm a little more, I got my attention on it with a little more detail. I can now see that this is my deal. See that? See, that makes a lot more sense. It's not perfect, but it makes a lot more sense. It's very close. See, this is that's these guys, these gray, they're all related to each other. They're all related to each other. All right, so then now remember, as you're following a market, right, the idea wasn't just to map an old market. The idea was to follow it during the week. So as you're here, you put the gray up. As you're here, you put the gray up. And you wonder, okay, what's going to happen? So it's like that. See, do you see how that's the structure, right? See him toy with it, toy with it, toy with it, toy with it. I mean, just doing this work helps you do what? Identify certain things, huh? Do you guys get it? So just doing this work, so I'm going to show little details that get missed. Just doing this work helps you see, because look, boom. See, that was the structure. Right there you go, Nate. That's where they took off. So just starting with swings and doing this kind of work, you can say, aha, that's where they took off. That's where they threw them off the cliff. You got it, Nate. Perfect. And see, if you put this kind of attention into your chart, you start to get it. Say, all right, I got little micros, I got a minor, I got a major, price is way up here, and I'm following. And at this point, I can't even help myself but mark this a little bit. And then as price comes off, again, I'm going to check my grays. See, it's getting too little. I don't worry about that. I suggest you don't go past 3 levels of swings. We'll call these micros, okay? Just because it's a cool name, micro. These are micro swings. They're little bitty ones. No minis. We don't do mini skirts. They're micros. All right. So as you get here, you're live and you're saying, all right, does this guy keep doing that? Now notice, see, I'm ignoring all of the sketchiness here. Does this guy keep doing that? Okay, they're trying, and we can see we did a little work. We can see there's a little mountain, and they're trying. All right, they're giving it that try. They're giving it a try. And see, notice I'm not marking anything in here. Not if I'm starting with this big guy here. So now we're like this. So now what I want to do is I want to keep an eye on my next largest, like so. And this all becomes a possible next structure. Oh, you get it now, Edward? Okay. And Nate, interestingly enough, it lands in the pressure cooker. All right, so now we're swinging. Doesn't give you much of a shot. You better be on it, right? And boom. And so now we're pulling back again, and we follow it, and we can see now, right? We're starting, to do that little guy. All right. So I just wanted to, you make a note that the gray expands into the red. So the micro expanded into the red. Again, this is a lot of data. Now what I want to do, all right, so now we can say if you've started with this whole big chart, we've mapped it. All right, we've mapped this guy now. Now let's go like this and do the exercise all over again. But what I want to do is I want to do it into the unknown. So for my student and for you guys, we're going to start right here and forget everything else. And the exercise is to follow this market from here throughout the week using major and minor swings. All right. So that means we're going to get a little more detail. So let's just mark it out. Let's just do some of it. And we got a whole lesson I'm going to do on this. So this is my major. Okay. That's my major. Then I look for my biggest. That's about my biggest. And those are my minors that got beat. Okay. So anytime a new reaction leg forms, and we're not going to go any farther back than this. Anytime a new reaction leg or a new impulse leg forms, we're going to follow those particular swings also. So the red is now my minor, but red got beat. That's following. Red got beat. So we're going to be real curious what blue's going to do. And it looks like we're right in that neighborhood now. Okay. So red got beat. Red got all beat up. And we'll put a little mark on here. And we'll follow. See, doesn't this clean life up a little bit? You don't need any more than this to trade. And yeah, Nate, we're about at blue right there, huh? And if we look, we see a big gap. Look, we can do a little more work as long as we're here, as long as we're here, we can see testing, testing, testing. But you don't have to do the work. Just follow the swings. And if blue gets beat and goes up, then guess what? That'll be my new swing. We'll do an entire lesson on this following, but let's start it off like this right now. So you're going to follow the reaction legs, you're going to follow the impulse legs with their own minors and majors. But the key is right now for you to fumble your way along and say, all right, if I start right here, how do I follow this market? Your life should be so simple, right? And you're right at the minor pressure cooker somewhere in there, huh? Minor pressure cooker. What's the minor pressure cooker you're looking at? See, we got, no, man, the minors got beat, Nate. This, whatever pressure cooker might have been in here got slammed, right? The major pressure cooker has got to be up here. Yeah, it's got to be up here someplace because this is where they threw them down from. So we got to get above that low. So let's learn, right? Let's learn. But we'll start with swings, and anything else we learn on the side is all good. This is how my trades show up. When red gets beat via a zoom bar like this, Stephen asks, could you stack two reds to see if it doubles to create an ML? Yes, absolutely. One of the things, though, you want to be careful of is that you don't lose sight of the main exercise by adding things. So, for instance, this is absolutely good, right? Remember the grays? I didn't do this, but just for you, Stephen, right? See it double out to equal a red. And so this is good. This is good extra learning. So you see the two micros equal that minor there. And so, yeah, you can absolutely do that. So sometimes the pressure cooker doesn't look all pressed. What I'm doing here, Grace, when I said the minor got beat, is I'm seeing through time, right? Somewhere in here, Grace, see this thing zoom? Somewhere in here on a smaller time frame, look at the retest and everything. Somewhere in here on a smaller time frame, I can envision this minor pressure cooker. You get that? I can envision, even though I can't see it because it's so small of a time frame, it's all one bar. But I imagine if we go to, a very small tick chart, we'll see something right here. And so what I'm doing, Grace, is I know the position that it's going to be in. I know there's going to be a give up. And this little retest sort of helps me see where the pressure cooker hit and then flipped back through. And so that's part of the, we do our work with understanding things like pressure cookers. And see, if I go on a bigger time frame, you might not see this at all. You'll just see a whew. Got it? And so it's helpful that we do, I'm glad you asked the question, it's helpful that we do our practices so that even here I can come in and say, oh, that's about where the pressure cooker would be. And that retest confirms that that's where it would be. And that zoom confirms, right? Boom, boom. And there's the try and everything else. And then from there, there's actually a few more little secrets in this thing that can teach you. On a smaller time frame, just this one swing could make you a decent amount of money. On this time frame, no, different volatility, different stops, different targets. But if you're on like a little tiny chart, you can get quite a bit of money in there in those points. But back to Stephen's observation, yes, you can double these guys out. And you see it's doubling to that. You can absolutely double these guys out, but don't get lost. Don't get lost. And yeah, you can do more than create an ML set, Stephen. You can do all sorts of interesting action-reaction work with it if you want to play. But don't get lost and don't miss the point of following, okay? Don't get lost and don't miss the point of following. See, if we just attach red to projected red, we can play. And then we can come down here. if we just attach red to projected red, and we can vector it. We can do all kinds of interesting things with this guy. But if you get too many lines, it's going to hit one of them. Got it. But let's take the exercise as a following exercise, because you know what? You'll get 10 times more just doing that. You'll start to understand a little bit something about swings. So we'll take a picture of this guy here and just stay curious. Just stay curious. And let me go back to my tick chart. Okay, so here we are on the tick chart. As long as we're here, I'm going to forget the 13-minute and map the tick chart. Again, I don't care what happened over here. Tick chart looks about the same. Yeah? Let's frame it up anyways. There's just so much interesting learning. There's our major, and there's our minor, right? There's our minor. And there's our minor that tried and got beat. Now, this starts to work into a very simple break the minor into the major kind of a thing, doesn't it? This is one of those old lessons we've done by observing swings. And I think I saved the chart on it. It looks something like this. All right, we're just talking about process. This is very simple, minor into major possibility. And we begin to, get these shapes. Just like we want to relax the bones, we want to soak this kind of information into the bones. And so now here we are live. We get to watch and see what happens. And I don't care anything about this gap or this filling or what went on. I'm going to watch this. Right now, red got beat. Blue is thinking about it. But I'm also going to do what? I'm also going to follow it. I'm going to follow these legs now. So how would I do that? I'm going to follow the legs up with minor and major. So I'll take this last swing broke like that. Thank you, Raj. Right, the LSB, last swing broke. Now you see why if you use a lot of data, you can get confused. And then I'll take this little guy. See, now we have a whole lot of stuff in the works here with just a simple chart. Why? Because we're actually following live the reaction leg out. We're following the reaction leg. So we're following the major where'd my yellow go? I don't want that. We're following the major in its little swings. So we're following the major and minor of the reaction leg. Here we were following that of the impulse leg. Here we're following the major and minor of the reaction. And if it's too much, just stick with one or the other. It doesn't matter. Whatever you find, follow it. And so this is an interesting thing. We'll see if it is just breaking this minor. We'll see if it's just breaking this minor to come back, or if it actually wants to turn around and expand. Then this will become my new major reaction leg. And what we'll do is it's discovery, right? Good stuff. We'll find out on the fly. See, now we're live. This is what I mean by following. Now we're live. And You know what? If you see a trade you like, hit it. Sometimes just this relaxing of the mind, I begin to see things a little clearer. And oh, that's where I need to take a trade. Boom. But notice I focused my attention. We do, when it comes to observation, one of the skills we have to learn is our concentration, our attention, training our attention a little bit. We definitely need to train our attention a little bit, not to be scattered all over the place, because that just leads to confusion. If you can take in all of this, fine. If not, yeah. If you can just see waves by taking in all of this, that's one thing. Then you can do that. Then you can just see lines. That's what I see when I look at this whole big thing. Isn't that good? All I did was follow the try and then the expansion. And then if you want to use that, use that. All I did was follow something that was nice and steady, a mountain turning into a valley, order from chaos, right? Now, before we get to doing all of this, which ain't bad, just note all I did was swings here. See, rather than teach how to draw a fancy line, I just found the line that we're on, contraction, just like our process model, gap, step 2, minor mountain, major mountain. Now it's looking like chaos again. See, this is a lot to take in. This is a lot to take in. If you can take that in and trade, well, then that's good. Me, it gets in the way, even though I can draw that and look for that. But just center, 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 other side, zoom. Okay, now I can project where it might go. Not that it gave me an easy trade, but boom. And this line will fall out of grace eventually. So let's just stick with this now. See, isn't that much simpler? I know we're jonesing to see what's on the left, so we have a clue what to do. So let's just stick with that, see what's going on. And we'll follow this guy. And, I'm kind of curious now. Kind of curious what will happen. I don't hold, don't hold the, Edward says, I don't hold the CL for over the weekend. You know what? Everything did that over the weekend, Edward. If you were on the wrong side, you got caught. Gold, oil. The ES, I don't know what the world's going on right now. I heard there was a G20 summit. Maybe that's it. All right. Yeah, gold, same thing. Whoa. A little more practice. Let's do a little more practice, and then we're going to build our model. Now, we already started on this one. I want you guys to see something in here. Cool lines, right? You saw those lines. We talked about it last week. How did I get to them? I got to them by understanding swings. That's how I got to them. By understanding swings and by understanding mountains and valleys and by understanding process. So let's take this apart now so you can see, and we talked about these possible trades up in here. Okay, we talked about that last week, the possible buys, possible sells, the branch either expanding or the branch breaking. So now let's look at this. I want you guys to see some of the things I see in here when it comes to swings, because it just looks like a set of cool lines now. But we worked this thing. We worked this thing starting before the expansion and talking about how price does this and expands, comes back, or baits and keeps going. So we see this structure going on already. We talked about this. And then we watched it. And we know this is going to be something of a base, this little, just I want you guys to take a look, okay? You know, we come up like this, we go like this, and so this becomes a base. Therefore, if it becomes a base, it also becomes a swing. A swing that I can think about using. So if this becomes a base, it also becomes a possible swing I can think about using, even though there's other swings going on in here. So if I structure this market like this now, and then, you know, we saw the crack and then the gap and the retest. See, it didn't want to make a wash. Right? This would be the wash if it wanted to make a wash on a bigger time frame. You know, this is it. But this is our line in the sand, and this is a base. So now let's follow. If that's a swing base, this is also someplace that I can draw from. So I'm calling this a swing, just from the way the structure's built. Now, if I'm calling this a swing, I can do that. And that's what these lines are representing. About the same size. Okay, so I'm calling that a swing. Everybody get the swing work in there? It's a everything's in swing, so I'm calling that a swing now. Right, and that's what the line's representing. All right. Now also let's look and see what happens. And what I used was basically an inside median. So if you use the median line set on this swing, it's giving you information and it's telling you at some point it's falling out. See, even if I just use a simple median line, notice it's giving me to the median line, or if I throw a sliding parallel on this guy, I know I forget the command. It's telling me it beat the sliding parallel. But if I take this guy also and do something like that with it, we'll just make it a modified shift. Now look what the modified shift's doing now. I want everybody to see this because it has to do with our process. Okay, watch. 1, coil. 2, gap. Now, notice what I'm grabbing really stands out, okay? 3. Oh, that ain't what I want. 3 is what? Retest? And it's a mountain at this point, right? It's a mountain structure. This would be the try, okay? But you see, it's a sloped mountain. Look at the line, right? See it? It's a sloped mountain. Everybody, as funky as it looks, look at it holding, look at it holding. See, this is where we can use the lines when this is a mountain. That's all it is. It's a mountain. It's in the process. It can wash and make a valley. It can hold the mountain. It can do whatever it wants. But I'm framing it and I see a mountain. Okay, now look, we're starting to move down our steps here. Our steps of process from our process slides. As price moves, and what's important about this is it gives me a clue about where we're at. It gives me a clue about what's going on in price. I have some sort of idea now. I got a handle on it, right? Remember our slide. 3, retest coil. 3, mountain. This is 4, right? Gap back through the mountain. See the try? See the try? See, price does these things. The more we understand these, and so this one's sloped, so this is 4, gap back through the mountain. The more we understand these, the more we are able to, make decisions trade-wise. And we already called this area last week. I think somebody asked me where stops would be or something, and you just watch, and you don't know if you're going to buy it, you don't know if you're going to sell it, you don't know if you're going to buy it, you don't know if you're going to sell it. It looked heavy to me. And then you can see them right here. You can see them just, right? You can give up. You give up right here. So we have 4. And then 5 would be a retest making the valley. And even though I'm drawing these lines in here, just look at the black median line cutting through, making a mountain and a valley. A swing cycle with center, action, reaction, and it's already fixed for us. It's already fixed for us. It's already right there. And so at this point, you begin to understand that, this thing got beat. At this point, if you don't understand it got beat, you don't understand it got beat. At this point, you should understand it got beat. And then this becomes either an easy trade with the flow or a very good understanding about where you need to put your stops if you're already short. Do you guys get me on that one? It becomes a very good understanding about where you need to put your stops if you're already short. Yes, right? That's a biggie. Of course, now, you got to risk some money here. Plus, you know what? If you get out here, it's not a horrible thing. Watch. If you're in anywhere along here with a 20 tick stop, that's 3 to 1. That's 60 pips. A lot of hedge fund guys are wishing for 60 pips on a Monday. A lot of them are wishing they're not down 60 pips on a Monday. Oh my God, I'm turning into a Forex guy. I'm starting to call them pips now. This is horrible. Ticks. Pips. What a stupid term. I'm a futures guy. Who calls these things pips? All right, what a pip. But you need to understand now, oh, that's where I put my stops. Might it turn from here? Yeah. Yeah, right. It might. That's part of trading, right? You take your chances. I got beat up a little bit, the other week, and this week I'm doing a little better. And if it goes through the line, we're going to just take the warning lines out, okay? And that's where we are now. And so now, we can follow this market. So it's eaten up a lot of whatever it did. It's eaten, and we don't have to know what's over here. Just watch this. And if you don't like this, watch. It really doesn't matter. Just draw the swings. Boom, boom, boom. Modify shift, then you have the same thing I had with the warning lines. Sometimes, guys, these are just the easiest trades. I mean, things sat there, what, all week last week on us? All right. Now, hey, Gina, Gladys Knight and the Pips. All right, we can't diss Gladys. All right. We love Gladys. Now we're gonna finish this show up with, and by the way, Nate, I was thinking of you when this thing gapped last night. We were looking at that. I had orders up here where I said I can't wait for this one. I hope Nate sees that. We were watching this odds. We were talking about that final little pop in Zoom. I watched that and I was like, please, please, please. Never did come back. Never did come back. Not once. But notice on this, I didn't even have a funny line. You know where my target was going to be? Real simple. Where's the mountain? Like that. Yeah, right. It just dropped. It popped so nicely, and then it went, and it's like, oh, that's curious. And then it zoomed. Everybody see that, right? The zoom pivot. It's a ticket. When we get into our pivot components, we'll talk more about that. But without a single line drawn, this was a trade for me, a trade idea, except never. I woke up saying, please come back and hit me. And then you just cancel those orders out. It was quick. Yeah, it's dramatic, huh? All right. So let's draw out our pressure cooker model. Oh, you had the same? Oh, Nate's got some nice lines on his. Yeah. I just saw a little pivot, Nate. I was ready. Okay, so this one we did type 1 reference chart. We did a type 2 reference chart. And on these reference charts, I love to do the ones that I trade. It makes it a little more special. It's not maybe the prettiest one in the world, but we did identify it live. Okay. We did follow it live through its paces. That's what makes it special, right? We followed it live through its paces and we understood its process. We understood its options along the way. We just had a full understanding to make choices. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is put a little bit of put a little bit of instruction down. I'm going to make sure we got room. So I'm going to put a little bit of instruction down about the pressure cooker. No way this is going to line up the nice aspect ratio for me, is it? That stupid aspect ratio. All right, maybe there. So what we have is the pressure cooker, okay? I'm just going to say a little bit about it. It's created from resisted movement. And I suggest that when you do your practice, when you do your own practice, you go ahead and write up these models the same way, both up and down, because it helps sync. Yeah, aspect ratio. We had an argument, Edward, over aspect ratio. All right. And so the pressure cooker, we want to understand what it is, right? It's created from resisted movement. We're going to have to make enough room for the model. Now, what is this pressure cooker in essence? Anybody? Anybody got a term for this? It's contraction, right? But we can say it's a contraction and an expansion, okay? When it's done, the whole model, Nate. So we can say it's let's just follow what we put on our other chart. I think I called it. It's basically, I want to get to its essence. It's a gap. It's a projected mountain, right? It's a gap, and a gap is a projected mountain. It's a gap. A gap projects a possible mountain. And it's in the upper part of the impulse leg. So I'm doing this because this is going to go into the chart things, and it's going to become a model. And then we have our instructions. The instructions one, identify, confirm swing. So let's just do it while we're here, okay? We're going to identify a confirmed swing. Like that. 2, follow price back under the high. To where they threw him off the cliff, and we'll call that the POI, point of ignition. So high, we follow it back This one, it's a little harder to see, but it's right there. And step 3 is going to be draw a red zone, okay? Pressure cooker. And then we'll say so these are the instructions. We'll just put these over here. There. Close enough for government work. Now, you know, this isn't a pattern that just happens all day, every 5 minutes, although you can see it, but we do want to understand it. So if we follow the directions here, okay, there's the high, there's the confirmed swing, we see the contraction. And right here, you see a type 1 trade. See, that would be that mountain that is projected. And that's our type 1 trade right there. And we watched it. So this was a beauty. So we got to watch this guy going on live. And whoops. And then we watched it go through with a zoom. And that was interesting. So we see it came over here. It actually made another new high. And then it zoomed. This down here would be our type 2. Now notice what we're seeing here, right? We're seeing mountain, valley. So this would be our type 2, and anywhere in here would be our type 3 shot. Now, the 3s for the pressure cooker, they're a little tougher to get. Usually the 3s come with their own, take this as a swing, okay? You guys see this? Come with their own brand new ones. And we did that the other day. So the 3s can be a little bit tricky. So the 3s can come with their own brand new ones. It's a location specific gap. Ah, I like that. That's good, Nate. I'm going to throw that in there. And we said where the location is. So you see, Grace, if we have a type 3, all right, it's tricky because a lot of times, watch, if we just forget this, that type 3 is going to be a brand new type 1 created the other way. Why? Because it's punching up against this mountain. And if it goes through, it made a decision to go through someplace. And you can see the press, right? Ugh. And so this is just another way to see. So you can see it as a type 3, or you can see a brand new type 1 right in there. But either way, we want to you see where it pressed off the cliff here? And did like this, and if we go like this, see, now we're playing with the whole minors inside of majors thing. This is why I say, keep it simple with your swings, and you'll start to see this kind of a thing. This is swing work, okay? See, this mountain, just like we did in the Euro, mm, mm, crack. Okay, this becomes our little, even if this didn't make a new high, this becomes like a swing, just like that. Even if that guy didn't make a new high, this pressure cooker, because it's where they threw him off the cliff and where they're defending it and where an actual buyers are sitting, it becomes like a new swing here. And so then we can do like that. See, it's a little subtle, isn't it? But it's all in the swing work. It's all in the swing work. And look at those tails, right? And as you notice, one of the tedious things about pressure cookers is that, depending on which way you're flowing with them, they can go on for a little while sideways like this, especially if a market's been floating up. And so that's a type 3 there, even though it isn't the prettiest thing. Now, we could get a little more fancy, and we could say draw a median line. And you know what? The median line is giving us some information too. See, I would draw this last swing median line to come up with a target for this type 3. That's just how I would look to find a target for this guy. And remember, median lines are like you pull the rubber band and it snaps back, right? You pull the rubber band this way and it snaps back. And this is why there's a high probability of coming back to center. Think about it. You pull a rubber band, it's going to snap back to its base, okay? And the thing about center, sometimes when we get back to center, there's no tension, and you'll get sort of a weak oscillation around the center, or minor oscillation around the center. And I'll use something like this a lot of times and just say center of center. That's covering that oscillation. So this is just some fancy line work in there. But either way, I want you to see that swing, like a spring slopping. Yes, exactly, Nate. Think about it. It is like a spring slopping around after it's sprung. Okay, see, it's tight here. Shoom. And then you get around center, you'll notice you get that slopping around because there's no more tension. You're in the center now. It's just floating. It's got to do its thing and regroup and recoil and build some more energy. And I used to just do this little setup on the ES a long time ago. I call it center of center. When I draw something like this, and see, look, it's just slopping around. Okay, hit, good, 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 and then see, it's slopping around, but it's slopping around in some kind of an order here. There's some kind of an order to the slopping around. And so we can keep taking the center of center ad nauseum, but it's center of center. And so it's one way to think about median lines. And that's a good way to put it. It's a spring slopping around there. Okay, so, as we look at that, this would be a type 3. It's still, type 3 is just not making pretty model, but it's what I got. Because a lot of times a type 3 will produce, let's just put all this down here. A lot of times a type 3 will produce a brand new type 1. Don't like that either. And then we'll draw it out over here. It doesn't even look pretty, does it? But you know what? For somebody, they might see that easily. Me, I see the type 1s mainly. The type 2s is a whole different framework we'll be teaching next. But this is what a type 3 is going to look like, right? And they'll often be this little tendency right here of this guy. Why? Because it's its own little swing. The more you practice with this, the more you'll see the little intricacies of it. But it was pretty simple, all right? The mountain didn't hold. This guy's trying. It's can't get up off the couch. We watched him give it up here. Boom. Generally, what I'm going to use for these as a target is this lower line. And so this would be a type 3 trade option. And that's as pretty as I can make that model. I can't really do much more with it than that. Although it gave us a major reaction like same size as the previous one. So it is pretty in that sense, right? If you can see it, Nate, yeah, it is pretty. It's a little tedious if you're in early, but it is pretty there. And just on an observation level, when they are stalling like this, if they do a final real hard punch and then start to give it up, this makes for a nice little entry retest along here if you get it. This one doesn't get it with stops above there. But that's about as pretty as I can get it. But yeah, Nate, pay attention to that. Boom, boom, boom. So you follow it, right? There's step 1 here. 1. Ugh. Go away. Get back here. It's a good thing I don't chew gum. Step 1, right? Identify the confirmed swing. Step 2, follow price back underneath its high. Draw the red box. See, there's its high. Step 3. And then observe. So step 1 is I guess it would be up here, wouldn't it? Step 1, okay, you identify new high. Step 2, follow price back down. I can't help it. The 3 option is just ugly in this. 3, draw the red box. And it's rolling. And then this is just one of those extra little observations. So we'll take a picture of that. We did the best we can for our type 3s. That's the best we can do with that one. And we're going to move on, and we'll come back to this later and check out a few of these little things that happen. But you got enough to practice with. Now, this ain't for everybody, this particular framework. All right? I like to use it as a tool. You know, I like to use it as a tool in markets that just look like they're rolling and have some, you know, have some momentum to it. But more importantly than using it as a tool is to understand if you understand where they threw them off the cliff from and read it, if you see this as the same as your press type thing, you can use it not only in that part of the swing, but you can use it even in a range. So sometimes if price is in a range for a long time, and then I get this, and I get the bust, I'll use it the same way, even though it's a range. Or just like you saw me do with the euro, I'm taking the essence of it. If I get something like this and then I get a stall, you know, and then I start, oh, okay, I'm going like this. Now I'm going to use the essence of where that move started from as a type 1, type 2, or type 3. But it's the where they throw them off the cliff part that's important. See, zoom. And then that becomes important to even drawing your lines. It becomes important to drawing your action reaction sets, because you can see zoom, retest. See, boom, and then back to that line, that forgotten line that Nate likes. And then you can do a action reaction here and use that for a target if you wish, or follow the lines down. I tend not to overcomplicate it with the whole action reaction thing. I just, oh, it's like that. And we've seen a lot of those. We've seen a lot of those. So what we're just identifying all these little parts. I mean, you can do it that way if you wish. And it's trying to tell us in some form or fashion, this is like a median line, whether that was it or this was it. You know, it looks like that one's probably a little closer. Let's just check. Yeah, that one's probably a little closer to it. But it's still the triumph, not too shabby. And so the one line, although it can crawl up the line, if you know where you need to get stops, and if you understand, Adam, that one structure, see this? There's a press here. One structure creates the next structure, so you can see it. Boom. You can really understand the market. Everybody see that's one structure. See, this is where they, see the test, hold, boom. You see that, Gina, right? You understand this kind of thing, and this is, it's the equivalent, Nate, of what I tried to do in the Aussie last night. And so we can see the little mountain here. So now we're dicing it up even a little bit more. And the whole key to this is mainly to understand, where do we need to get our stops? All right. Can I get stops wherever I enter? Can I get stops above these guys as much as possible here? Can I get stops above those guys somewhere? So no matter how you cut it. So that's a pressure cooker framework. There's more to it. And then there's this internal swing here. Boom, boom. And then we'll see where this guy goes from here. We'll see if the longs keep trying. We see if they get some gusto. But I can tell you one thing. What's it doing? Right? We're following it. Now, if it breaks this low, I want it to break it a little more than that. All right, if it breaks this low, we'll have majors and minors. And by the way, just for fun, and then I'll end it with the fun. Let's take this gray line that looks pretty good just for fun and copy it. And wherever it wants to bounce, I'll copy it again, just for fun. And we'll keep an eye on that. All right, so let's wrap it up there. That was the pressure cooker. We have a job to follow our 13-minute. Okay, I'm going to follow both, but I'm going to follow, looks like we're coming off the blue a little bit on this Earl chart, this Earl. And we'll be back Wednesday, then we'll take Friday off. Thank you, Pete. Thanks, Raj. Simple swing work, right? Just simple swing work. Just take that away, and don't forget to keep wondering what observation is. See you guys on Wednesday.